Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to Coppertop Productions. In this week's video we're going to be jumping in and installing the R31 MINI Spool so we can lock that diff up, hit up some drift vents and actually have some fun with the car. Let's waste no time and jump straight into it, we've got a lot of work to do. First thing we've got to do is obviously jack the car up because we need to get to the diff. You see that? That play right there? That's bad. It also won't spin the opposite direction when I'm done with it. Alrighty, so what do we actually have to do to get this thing installed? Originally, I thought it was as easy as undoing the bolts on the diff, popping that off, dropping that out, installing this. It's not. Essentially, everything that is inside that diff housing has to come out for us to be able to install this. It's better than welding it. We have to remove both wheels, brakes off of both, rotors off of both, and then we have to get to the bolts that hold the axle in place, undo both of them, remove them out, so we're basically pulling the two axles out of the inner diff, and then we can undo the bolts on the diff itself, pop that off, take the inner housing out, take that apart, install this, and then put it all back together. It's not a small job by any means, but we're gonna do it. Well, we're gonna try anyway. So first thing to do, take the wheels off. Next thing to do is to remove the brakes. Alrighty, so the first thing we have to do once we're actually looking at the brakes is remove this spring, undo this little thing here, so bend those over, pull that out. Have to remove these so that we can get that off of there. Undo this bolt. Same down here. Then this center part will come out. We use this spring to hold it up there, completely out of the way. Then we have two more bolts on this. And that is our entire brake assembly removed. Alright, so it seems like our rotor is a little stuck on there. We do have a trick that means we'll be able to get it off pretty easily. So essentially what you're doing is you're taking the bolts that you used from the back of the thing, putting them in there. See if we can do this one hand. Probably can't, no, definitely can't. Put it in there, and you slowly turn both of them down until this pushes back and it separates from the inner housing. They're going to be like full of brake dust and crap. There you go. And that basically just pops it off. Super nice and easy. Now with that entire thing disassembled, we can actually get to the bolts that we need to be able to get to. So we're now looking at this. And if you were in the position where you needed to replace your rotors and or brake pads, this is the time to do it, because you already got all this crap off. So why would you put old stuff on if you could put new crap on? So essentially what we need to do now, you line these holes up and you see those bolts back there? There isn't one on that side. Oh no, there is. Yeah. So there's 4 bolts all the way around. You need to get each one of those undone. And then that allows this to pull out . Alrighty, I'm going to jump on the other side, do exactly what I did on this side. I'm not going to show you the other side because it's the exact same as this side. And then we'll jump underneath the car, undo the bolts on the back of the housing of the diff, and we'll have a look in there, see how far we need to pull these out, and then go from there. So yeah, I'll jump around and do the other side now. Alrighty, we got one side off, just remove the other side. Now we just got to take that off, push that up, do what we need to do around there to get that off. Maybe remove the sway bar, I don't know, we'll see how we go. Finally get that casing off the bloody diff. Ah, nasty. Fucking gross. And that is the housing that needs to come out. That thing dead center there. 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts. And then apparently these are a bitch to get out. Right. Tried just about everything to get this out. And then I realised it's in a similar predicament with the clutch, what do they call it, fly bearing, whatever that thing is that sits in the back of the crankshaft. I realised I bought a tool for that. With any luck, this will get our axle out. This thing that I'm using, the way it works is this screws into the back of there. That goes on there. This screws into the back of there. And with that screwed in, you use this. And it bangs on the back of that, and this thing's bloody heavy. Now, came across this, which is a fair bit bigger than this, and a fair bit heavier. So we're using Big Bertha. Effortless. So I just got the other axle out, and I thought this might be a good time to see if the mini spool that we ordered actually fits on there. So there. Isn't that beautiful? Lock diff life. Hell yeah. Alrighty, so we have to remove those 4 bolts that are holding the center of the diff in. I'm gonna do my best not to just drop it. Oh fuck. Oh my god, okay. Alrighty, so with the insert out, we just have to clean it and then disassemble it. 8 bolts, they all have an L on them, if you notice that. It means left hand reverse thread. And we've also got these 3, where are they gone? Those 3 dowels that need to be pushed out. So the first thing we need to do is remove these, and then undo the bolts. Alrighty, after undoing those 8 bolts and giving it some heavy persuasion, finally gotten this off. Now I've got a tap, essentially a much bigger one of them out. Now if you look down the center, you'll see one going all the way through, so I know that that's this one. That's the first one that has to come out. That's one. Hey, look at that, some actual fucking progress. It's 1, 2, 3. So essentially the whole reason that we've had to do all that is to get to these things here. That is a spider gear. That's what makes your diff not go screw. Internals of a spider gear, little a spider gear. Another one, another one, another one, and another big off one. And all these work in unison to do one thing: prevent you from having rear-wheel drive fun. So this, that, both of them, all these little baby shims, finally that last baby gear, that's all going in the bin. That's what we're getting rid of there, essentially. The mini spool, finally. So that slips down just like that. Sits in there so nicely. Super nicely. Now if you remember these holes in the mini spool, those holes around there, those holes in the diff, and those pins, they line up just like that. And it's to allow these to return into their original location, so they hold that mini spool in there. One big one and your 2 small ones. So essentially what we've got to do now is we've got to line this back up. You want this hole lined up like that, otherwise bad day. Alrighty, that's the first one in, the big one, and as you can see it goes through there and locks the diff in. Now I just got to put the two side ones in, and that should be it for the internals. And that is each pin installed. Chuck the top piece back on, do those bolts back up, put those pins back in, and that is the internal assembly done. Alrighty guys, so at this point you've got your entire diff center out of your car, it's fully disassembled, you've just taken those spider gears out, thrown them away, you chuck your mini spool in, you put those 3 splines back in, the one that goes all the way through and the 2 that go from the opposite ends on either end. Then you rejoin your 2 halves of the diff with the teeth or the gearing, crank those bolts down, remember they're reverse thread. You've now got your center diff completely back together, and then it goes back in the car, and that's where we're up to right now. So I got a little impatient while I didn't have the camera with me because it was charging, and I put it all back together and I've chucked it back in the car. It's not bolted up yet, but I'll show you where we're at. Alrighty, so as you can see, our diff is in, and as you can't see, our mini spool is inside it. But yeah, basically all you guys missed out on seeing me do is join that half and put these teeth on and do those bolts up. That's it, and then I just put it in the car. Now when it comes to actually putting the diff back in your car, it is a bit of a tedious process. You kind of have to smack it in. I found it easiest to get a 2x4, line it up, push it in with your hand as much as you can, get the 2x4, give it a couple taps on each side, and then just work your way pushing each side in, and then eventually it bottomed out, and that means that it's fully in place. So we're ready to put our 2 cradles on the back, do up those 4 bolts, chuck our diff cover back on, and then essentially it'll be ready for fluid and good to go. Oh, other than the drive shafts and that, we probably shouldn't forget those, they're a bit important. So we'll jump in and we'll get that back together now. Alrighty, so all the torque specs you're going to need to reinstall your diff and your axles and all that kind of crap, I'm going to go through them now because I've got them here. So for your ring gear bolts, it's 65 lbs. For your bearing caps, it's 45, so that's these ones here. For your axle retainer bolts, it's 36 lbs. Rear cover bolts is 25, I don't think that matters. And then your carrier half bolts, whatever they are, is 29. So the 4 here is 45 lbs, and then your ones going through in there, I believe, are ring gear bolts. Yeah, so they're the ones that are 65 lbs, and that's just fucking tight. That's really going to stitch us up. I don't have a torque wrench big enough to tighten these down as much as they need to go, because they need to go to 67 newton meters of torque, and I've only got a small one. So I'm going to need to buy one before I can tighten this up, slap the casing on, and go do some skids. I guess I'll chuck the wheels back together, and it's going to be staying on the Besser blocks for another couple days. God damn it, I really want to get this all done. What if I just send it? Like, how important are those? Nah, they're pretty. Yeah, nah. Stitch up. Oh well, I'll chuck the wheels back together. There's nothing else I can do. Yes, cut brakes. Right. That's one side. Alrighty, so we have one side fully assembled and ready to go. And second side fully assembled and ready to go. The only thing that's not ready, obviously we've got to put that sway bar on and dock specs on the diff. So, bit of a bummer not to be able to finish it today. Just means you guys will have to check up next week when we're actually able to put it into action and do some skids. But at least we can do this for the meantime. Hell yeah! Look, diff. Oh, all the skids. So good. Alrighty guys, that's going to be it for this week's video. I hope you have enjoyed. If you clicked this video to learn how to put a mini spool on an R31, leave a comment down below telling me if I did a good enough job explaining it, if there's anything I left out or anything like that. Any questions you guys have, leave it in the comments down below, I'll answer it. The main reason I actually made this video as a how-to is because when I was trying to look up how to install a mini spool in an R31, there's a bunch of videos after the diff had been like removed. Nothing for when the diff was actually in the car. So that's my main reason for wanting to make this video. So hopefully it helped a couple of you guys out there learn how to do this, and hopefully there's more R31s out there doing skids now. That's going to be it for this week's video, guys. If you want to see this thing skid, follow along, subscribe, and probably next weekend take this thing out, see what we can do in the streets of Mexico now that the diff is actually locked, and then we can actually, you know, send it into a corner with some confidence. I'll leave it there, guys. I'll catch you next week's video. Bye.